Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Inside Chippewa Hockey. I'm your host, Ryan Donnelly, and I cannot wait to update you on everything CMU hockey. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show because episode 2 starts right now. As we welcome you inside the MHTV studios here on the campus of Central Michigan University. Once again, I'm Ryan Donnelly as we welcome you to episode 2 of Inside Chippewa Hockey. To kick off our show, we are going to talk about men's Division III team. And with that, I would like to introduce our analyst and CCHN broadcaster, Reagan Cleaves, as D3 goalie Sam Zavelson. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing well, you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, Sam, the audience may not know who you are, so give us a little insight about who you are and just who you are and what you contribute to the team.
My name is Sam Zavelson. I'm a goalie on the hockey team. I stop pucks for fun. It's kind of neat. Been on the team for about 2.5 years now, ending out my 5th year this upcoming spring, and yeah.
So Sam, coming off that 5-game losing streak, tell us about that win at Michigan Flint, how that momentum just built up for the team.
Absolutely. So that was a really big win for us. It was a date that we had marked on our calendars now for a couple weeks. There are games that we need to win between that and then Adrian upcoming this weekend if we want to reach our end goal of reaching the national championship once again. That win was really big for Caleb too, coming off of the tough loss that he had the prior week against Saginaw Valley. So it was a good morale booster for him, as well as guys like Schultz, who scored his first, as he likes to call, legitimate goal. So, yeah.
So Reagan, 1-2-2-1 in the month of October. What were your key takeaways in the month of October when it comes to goal-wise, discipline-wise, scoring-wise, which we'll get to that later on in the show. But what was your key takeaways in just the month of October and the beginning of November?
Yeah, so first of all, main key takeaway was the lack of scoring from your top line from a year ago. Andrew Porzonik and Nathan Bottles didn't have a point up until that last series against Michigan Flint, where Nathan Bottles finally scored for the first time since the opening weekend. But also the goaltending play has been really, really good. Sam, you've had a couple of fantastic games, and Caleb Woolery has played really well, including in that 3-4 overtime loss against Saginaw Valley State, and in his most recent game, that 5-3 win against Michigan Flint. So the goaltending's been really good rather, and the leading scorers have stepped it up, especially in that last series against Flint, where they scored 6 goals, their most in a series in quite some time.
Taking a look at goaltending, especially having a goaltender on the show, Caleb Woolery, he played in the Michigan Flint win and the SVSU game. Have you coached him through? He hasn't played a lot this year, but have you coached him being that veteran leader in the locker room? Have you coached him through just how to play better through these 2 games? Although he did play 2 games, he played pretty well, although a loss and a win. He was 1-1 in the month of October and a little bit in November. Just talk us through how you think Woolery has done in the past month.
I think Woolery's done great in the last month. I think he's exceeded at least my personal expectations. I like to think coaches as well, and I think he's really strong back there and the team can rely on him game in, game out. I like to say the same about myself and even Lauren too. And I'm excited to have Nick Wilson play his first game hopefully this season as well. I feel like the goaltending all around has been really good. Woolery's a great guy. He's been arguably like a friend or a little brother on the team so far. Even though he's not my rookie, I treat him as such. And yeah, man, I'm happy to have him around, and I'm excited for the next 4 years of him, hopefully, with the Chips.
Sam, you played wonderful in the month of October and November, transitioning from Caleb to you. What improvements have you made throughout just the month of October when it comes to leadership and just all-around net minding?
I'd say it's more than just the month of October. It's been this season as a whole. New setup is always a good little morale booster, but going off of that, I've just felt in a better mental place this season, too. The new team, the new coach and all of that, I've really enjoyed playing under Brendan Martin so far, and it's been the most fun I've had playing hockey in a couple of years. So with that, I think performance definitely is impacted.
Now, Reagan, I want to talk about something that you and I have talked about on the broadcast a lot in the month of in the month of October, and that's discipline. We got to talk about that Michigan Flint series. Isaac Gibbs with that spearing, which led to that overtime loss against Michigan Flint last weekend. What is your take on discipline so far, just this whole year?
Yeah, I mean, discipline has been a tough thing for the Chippewas, not only this year, but also in previous seasons. This year they're near the top in the ACHA in terms of penalty minutes, and it hurts them come crunch time in games. Isaac Gibbs, as you mentioned, took that spearing penalty, that 5-minute major late in game number 2 against Michigan Flint. That led to the game-tying goal, and eventually Michigan Flint winning it in overtime. But discipline is something that this team hasn't really had, and it's cost them in games. And I think going forward, you need to get your head in the game and not take some of those penalties that are very avoidable.
I want to talk about some bright spots so far here in just this semester so far. The LTU tie that you had the first game against Lawrence Tech about a month ago, and then the Saginaw Valley overtime away at a very tough crowd. Saginaw Valley, they have a really tough and fun crowd. And then that win against Michigan Flint at Crystal Fieldhouse a couple weekends ago. From both of you, I want to hear from Sam first. What have you think are those bright spots so far here this semester?
I think just being able to keep up with some of the more competitive teams in our division and league, if we can carry the success for close to success going forward against Florida Gulf Coast and Grand Valley coming up in these upcoming weekends here, it'll really help propel us forward. I think those were moments where the team really meshed well together, and as long as we can keep that consistency, I could see us being a really strong force going forward.
Reagan?
Yeah, and that win against Michigan Flint was their first win in 6 games. They had a 5-game winless streak coming into that. That's a big win. The tough part is losing that second game at home, where historically Martin's been a good place for the Chippewas to play, but this year they've had a really tough time winning at home. Now, I believe 3 straight games they've dropped at home. This upcoming series against Adrian is going to be big for them, trying to regain that momentum against a team who hasn't been very good this year.
Taking a look at the rest of the semester, only 3 series left for the Chippewas. This upcoming weekend, they will be having a home-home split against Adrian. What are your thoughts of this Adrian series? Adrian's a very tough team to play, especially having an away game at night on Sunday. What is your expectations for this game?
Personally, I hope that we go 2-0 this weekend, as I believe the rest of the roster does as well. Adrian's a very tough barn to play at. I remember that from playing with D2 the last 2 seasons. They have a very loyal fan base, and they have a very rowdy bar above the bench. So it'll be a tough crowd to deal with, but we've seemed to do better on the road in recent weeks, so hopefully we can carry that there and then turn things around at Martin as well.
Taking a look at our second series for the men's team on December 1st and 2nd, they'll be traveling to Fort Myers to take on Florida Gulf Coast University, the 13th ranked team in the entire ACHA, in the entire ACHA. What prep have you done for this game, especially having those long travel days and having less time to practice and then taking on the number 13 team?
I'd be lying if I say I wasn't excited to go to Florida in mid-December in Michigan. But going back to the first part of that question, we're looking more at Adrian right now. Of course, we want to beat Florida Gulf Coast as well, but it needs to be a week by week. Having such a broad scope, we'll just lose track of it. We'll not place as much importance as the games coming up in a couple of days here as those. But with that, I'm excited for rookies like Lucas Hutton, and I believe Jace as well is coming onto the roster soon too. So hopefully either that change or just their presence will help propel us past that 13th ranked team and boost us up.
And then our final series for the men's team this semester on December 8th and 9th, the Grand Valley State Lakers, the number 1 team in the ACHA. Reagan, are you excited for this series? Are you prepared for this series?
Yeah, it should be a really fun series. Like Sam said, it's hard to look ahead on the schedule, especially when you have tough opponents like Adrian and Florida Gulf Coast upcoming. But the fact that you're going to end up playing the number 1 team in the nation to close out the year, that's a big one. And you start in their barn, that's a big chance for CMU to get a big win on the road.
Well, thank you for joining me, Reagan and Sam, and good luck to the D3 team as they try to close out first semester on a high note and continue their journey towards the national tournament. Coming up after the break, we're going to be joined by Anthony Schulte as well as the alternate captain Kylie Delray to talk women's hockey. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Inside Chippewa Hockey on the CMU Club Hockey Network.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Let's start time for dinner.
Oh, it's really take those.
Faster dinner.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Chippewa hockey is on CCHN.
Oh my goodness!
The place to watch men's Division III.
Here's Connor Morgan out and Porzundek, he scores!
And women's Division II.
Burnett's gonna get a shot on goal and she scores!
Every shift, every goal, every game.
Central Michigan has turned the corner.
All in one place. CCHN, your home for Chippewa hockey.
All right. Welcome back to episode 2 of Inside Chippewa Hockey. Once again, I'm Ryan Donnelly, and for this segment, we're talking about the women's Division II team. With that, I want to introduce CCHN broadcaster Anthony Schulte and sophomore forward Kylie Delray. How are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
I'm doing great, Ryan. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, Kylie Delray, let's do the same thing like we did with Sam Zavelson. Let's let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
My name is Kylie. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I've been playing hockey for about 8 years. This is my second year at CMU, and I love it here. It's a great place to be, great place to play hockey and go to school, so I'm loving life right now.
Taking a look at the series from October, Miami, you had 2 wins, a 5-2 win in the big rink and a 4-3 win at the practice arena. Tell us a little bit more of that trip and just how did everybody do? Gabby Nixon had that hat trick in the second game. She just played overall fantastic in that series.
Yeah, big first road trip for the year, a lot of fun. I unfortunately was concussed that weekend, so I wasn't able to play, but I was fortunate enough to still travel with the team. Had a lot of fun, got 2 huge wins out of it, played really well, played fast, didn't let any chippiness or any physicality, get us too frustrated, and we just kept going, beat them on the scoreboard.
So Anthony, talking about our Notre Dame series, we actually broadcast the one together, you and I's first broadcast, a 6-0 shutout at home at Martin, and then a 5-3 win at Martin. Talk to us more about that series and just what were your key takeaways, because just overall good goaltending and all-around good point scoring for the Chippewas. Just what were your key takeaways?
It was an impressive series for the Chippewas. First game, of course, being that shutout 6-0. Bree Schroer, impressive play in the crease, stopping 16 shots on goal. And just a good job on both ends of the ice, the forecheck and the back check. A lot of goals scored that game as well. And then the second day, that Sunday of that weekend, it was another good game on the forecheck, but again, kind of like what we saw in the Miami series, that second game, they let up 2 goals in the third period. So they did a good job in both series of
controlling. They came back a little bit, both Miami and Notre Dame, but they did a good job responding and holding them back and keeping the lead. And of course, in that Notre Dame game, Mac Barnett got that empty net goal to really seal the deal towards the end of the game. Just a very impressive weekend against Notre Dame for Central Michigan.
So, Kylie, I want to talk to you about the Sioux College series, 6-2 loss and a 10-0 shutout loss. Just talk about that series, coming off 2 straight sweeps against Miami and Notre Dame, and just what was the momentum going into the series with Sioux College being one of the top teams in the CCWHA?
Yeah, no, the series was tough for us. I mean, defending national champions, we knew what we were up against. And coming off those 2 sweeps, we wanted to carry that momentum from the wins into our weekend. I thought the first game was okay. You got kind of plagued by penalties. Some, puck luck didn't go our way. Second game was a bit rough. We did have a short bench that weekend, unfortunately. I think we learned a lot from it, though. You always take something away from losses like that, think about what can be improving. So I think we learned a lot about what we need to do going forward, because it probably won't be the last time we'll see them this year. So I'm hoping we get another chance to play them. But all around, good effort. We took what we needed to away from it, and we're going to apply it to the rest of our season.
So talking about goaltending with Bree Schroer and Lauren Abraham, Bree Schroer playing lights out in that Notre Dame series while Lauren Abraham came back in that Sault Ste. Marie series. Just talk to us about just the overall really well goaltending from both Abraham and Schroer.
Yeah, I honestly think we have the best goalie tandem in the league, right? They've been phenomenal for us this year, just as they were last year. And Bree has been really stepping up. We had Lauren out for a little bit, so Bree stepped up, took charge, and kept us in those games against Notre Dame and Miami, especially when they did start to come back in the second games of those series. And Lauren was great for us first game against Sioux, lights out, 60 shots against. And Lauren was great against Sioux, stopping like 60-plus shots. I mean, obviously the scoreboard doesn't show that, but she was a big reason that we stayed close, at least the second and third period. It was 2-2 if you throw away the first period. So I think definitely if we see them again, see Sioux again, and just continuing the rest of our season, I think Lauren and Bree are both going to be very valuable assets to us, and they're going to step up when we need them most.
So the projected rankings for the CCWHA, Sioux, MSU, CMU, and Adrian. Kylie, you guys have played MSU and Sault Ste. Marie already, going 1-3 in those 2 series. Just talk about how tough it was just between playing those 2 teams, and then you guys have Adrian in February, and how you guys are preparing for that.
Yeah, the MSU game was definitely a heartbreaker, that first game, because we knew we could have beat them on their home ice. But I was really thrilled with the way we responded. That second game, 7-1 victory, was huge. And I think it'll be really important for us to not hang our heads after Sioux, because again, they're a phenomenal team, and we held our own, did what we could. So I think it's going to be really important for us to take positivity from how far we've come already this season and apply that to this weekend and whatever comes next, especially Adrian in the second semester. I think we're going to be a bit of a different team by then, because every team ebbs and flows and changes as the season goes on. But I think we'll both be different teams, but I think we'll be able to pull it off.
Something that I want to talk to both of you about is that top line production of Gabriella Nixon and Caitlin Williams. Gabriella Nixon having 10 goals, 5 assists, and Caitlin Williams having 6 goals and 7 assists. Kylie, I want to start with you. Tell me just the impact that both of these players have made on the front line.
Yeah, they're both phenomenal players. I think Gabby, she's very fast and has a wonderful shot. She's been starting a lot of momentum for us in games when we need it to get our feet off the ground, as well as 4 game-winning goals from her. That's very impressive. And Caitlin, too, she's a wonderful playmaker, knows where to be, when to be, and where the puck is going. And as someone who's her wing partner, I've had a lot of fun playing with her. She's been phenomenal. But yeah, both of them have really been contributing, and I think they're going to make a statement for top players in the CCWHA this year.
Anthony, I want to get your take on both Williams and Nixon. Just from what you and I and everybody else has seen on CCHN and the fans out there, what have you seen from both Nixon and Williams?
I mean, they're just electric players, aren't they? I mean, Nixon, she has the only shorthanded goal on the season for Central Michigan. And as Kylie alluded to, the 4 game-winning goals, just electric with the puck, very creative with the puck as well. We saw that especially in the Notre Dame series and all throughout this year, last year. And then Kaylin Williams just taking advantage of opportunities. We saw that one breakaway goal where she dropped her defender going right towards the goal, and it was just a beauty. So both electric players, and they really know how to create momentum for this team, especially when they need it.
Well, thank you for joining us, Kylie and Anthony, and good luck to the women's team as they try to bounce back against Lawrence Tech this weekend, with both games being aired on CCHN. After the break, we will dive into the final team with John Gervasi and special guest Frankie Williamson. Don't touch that remote. We will be back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Owen, when you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
We didn't know what the future would hold, but we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I'm so proud to call you my son.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
Chippewa hockey is on CCHN.
Oh my goodness!
The place to watch men's Division III.
Here's Connor Morgan out in front for Porzundek. He scores!
And women's Division II.
Burnett's gonna get a shot and goal, and she scores!
Every shift, every goal, every game.
Central Michigan has turned the corner.
All in one place. CCHN, your home for Chippewa hockey.
Welcome back to Inside Chippewa Hockey. Our final team to cover on the evening is the men's Division II team. With that, I'm going to introduce D2 broadcaster John Gervasi along with sophomore captain Frankie Williamson. Welcome, guys. How are we feeling today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good.
John, I want you to take us through the D2's teams because it hasn't looked the greatest for the men's Division II team.
You could say that. We talk every week about taking each game, each score with a grain of salt. I think the boys are improving every single week, and we kind of saw that this past Saturday against UW Milwaukee. It's tough. You know, we talked about the first Inside Chippewa Hockey episode. When you have a roster of for games of like 10, 12 guys, and then at Sioux we finished with 8 players. You can't win hockey games with just 8 guys, but we're getting close to a fuller roster, and I think we're steadily improving. I think Frankie can agree with me on that.
Yeah, you know, it's obviously
so far it's a season nobody really wants, given the scores, but I truly think the scores don't really depict how we are as a team. A lot of things that we do is off the ice, that's how we kind of stay together as a team. And with this season, the worst thing you can do is turn on each other. And the way we stick together through everything, through what it's been of a season, we're not even remotely close to that. And that's one of the things that I'm very proud of this team so far.
Just taking a look at some things to talk about. The culture change. You guys got a brand new coach this year. Last episode we talked about that. Just talk about just the culture change from last year to this year, along with just changing the perception of just this team.
I think the culture change goes beyond the coaching change this year. I think the culture has been the way it has for about 6 years, and if you talk to former D2 players, players have left for one reason or another, and nobody's really kind of, stayed to change that. And I think Coach Doug this year has done a really good job of keeping guys motivated. Like we said, the scores aren't fun. It's not fun losing, 18-1 to Sioux, but these guys are building chemistry. And then changing the perception of D2 hockey. We want guys to come here to play for the D2 team. You want guys to want to come here, and I think, Frankie, you can also agree on this. I think this year, compared to last year, the culture is so much better. I'm going to mention the rookie talent show that we had after Roosevelt, losing to Roosevelt the way we did. Guys aren't down on themselves. There's still a buzz, even on the bus back. Our fantastic captain here was the MC of our talent show, and nobody's hanging their head. Everybody is just getting to the next game, and they're having fun, and I think he can agree with that.
Yeah, like John just mentioned, going down to that Roosevelt weekend, I know it was talked about previously, but we hang with them for 2/3 of the first game and half the second game, and our depth just caught up to us. But things happen, we know that, and yeah, it sucks in the moment, but you get on a bus back Saturday night, and it's already 11 o'clock, and you don't want to just sit there and dwell about it. So we just had a little fun, got the rookies a little more comfortable with the guys, and it's just things like that I talked about just earlier, that we stick together. We try to have as much fun as we can, and I think that's what really is getting us through the season.
Taking a look at you guys had a full roster when you guys are home, but on the road, you guys had a minimum roster. Just talk to us about just losing some guys on the road, and just how has that affected just playing on the road?
Yeah, I think we have a couple guys that we're very thankful that they can come out when they can, but we understand that they have prior commitments before playing with us. So on the road's always a challenge, but I think one of the questions you asked me this weekend in one of the intermission interviews was, how do you play with the guys how do you play when they're not around, or they get kicked out or whatever? Honestly, for us, it doesn't change. We know how to play without them, but they give us a boost when we're at home. So, in my opinion, like I said, not a lot changes, but yeah.
I think we're finally starting to get closer to a full roster. This past weekend, we were 2 away from a full lineup. One guy, one of our alternate captains, he's nursing an ACL tear, and we hope to have him back next year. And another one is sick right now. So, if we have those 2 guys against UW Milwaukee, we have 4 lines and 3 defensive pairs, and that game probably both those games go in different directions, I think. But I saw the improvements from those games. I think that 5-4 loss in OT, it stings because one of the goals maybe should have counted. I think he agrees, but losing isn't fun. But I think the 5-4 loss, that's a turning point. The way they fought in that game they were down 4-1 in the third and fought all the way back to tie that game. And I tell them every week, and I can't be more proud of them. And they go out and do something like that, and it's amazing to watch the chemistry build for this team over this year. Because if you look at the first game against Michigan to now, it's night and day, the improvements that they've made.
And then I just want to talk about chemistry. Like you mentioned, you had that rookie talent show against Roosevelt on the way back. And just building that chemistry between between just the players in general. What two players do you think, a player each from you guys, what players do you think, just what guys stood out for you guys? For like just who's been, can I restart that? That was a mess.
Almost got through
Almost.
it.
I was doing so good. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now something that I want to talk about is chemistry, and you mentioned you guys had that talent show on the way back to Roosevelt, but what players do you think have been impressive so far this semester for the D2 team?
I think one of the new guys, he kind of has been helping out a little bit here and there when he can, but Logan Wolf, he's a super good hockey player. He's still shaking off the rust a little bit, but he got a deflection there to tie the game against UW Milwaukee. But I think that's going to be a huge confidence boost for him going forward, especially with a team like Eastern Michigan coming up, who is struggling pretty much just about as we are. So I think it's a good game for him there to score and to get his confidence up going forward for the rest of the season.
John?
So my guy is Jake Witten, and you guys just had Sam Zavelson on, who played with us last year, and I think he can attest. I mean, Witten does everything right. He is, he's had a few games off this year, but even missing those games, he is a physical presence in the defensive zone. He's always standing someone up. He's really good on the back check. He's got a shot. And I think with him in the lineup, our defensive pairs are so much better when Witten is playing. And then you have the usual players like Frankie here, Clark, we talked about in the first show. He's stepped up his offensive game. Very physical player, and he's putting pucks in the net. Guys like Riley Joyce, Dylan Niermeyer has played really well in net for us. In a season that's full of blowout losses, Dylan has played fantastic.
Taking a look at the next 3 games for you guys on the 1st of December, you guys are taking on D1 Eastern Michigan, who are currently 1900-1. How have you guys prepared for this Eastern Michigan team being in D1?
Honestly, I don't think a lot of it's changed. I think we've been increasing the tempo in practices as of late, and I believe they're almost the same level as when we played Oakland. So, and the first game against Oakland for us wasn't our best, but when they came back up here to the Marty, we hung with them and we put up a good fight. But I think that same intensity, you're going to see us have that against Eastern Michigan.
And John, I want to talk to you about on the 9th and the 10th, taking on number 5 Sioux College again. What do you think they can do to improve from last time that they played Sioux College?
Well, I'll say that, obviously anything other than 18-1 is an improvement. We get them at home. We're going to have a full roster. I don't think the games will be like that. I think they'll be a lot closer, and I think we know that. I think we know we can hang with the better teams. We've shown it this year. Sioux is going to be a tough challenge. I mean, they took 3 of 4 from LSSU, who is ranked 16th in the country right now, but I think the boys are up for the challenge.
Well, thank you, John and Frankie, for that insight into the team, and hopefully you can pick up win number 1 in the near future. We're going to take one more break, but afterwards, John, Reagan, and Anthony will rejoin me for Players of the Month and series previews.
Chippewa hockey. is on CCHN.
Oh my goodness!
The place to watch men's Division III.
Here's Connor Morgan out in front for Porzundek. He scores!
And women's Division II.
Burnett's gonna get a shot and goal, and she scores!
Every shift, every goal, every game.
Central Michigan has turned the corner.
All in one place. CCHN, your home for Chippewa hockey.
Welcome back to Inside Chippewa Hockey. I'm once again joined by our analysts Reagan Cleaves, Anthony Schulte, and John Gervasi. We're going to go through each team's Player of the Month and then series previews for the rest of the semester. First up is the Player of the Month. Reagan, who'd you pick for Player of the Month for men's D3?
Yeah, so I've got Josh Gilgren, who has played very well the last couple of series. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist in that time. He was the first Chippewa on the men's D3 side to score twice in a single game this year, so he's got our Player of the Month.
Anthony, for you, Player of the Month for women's D2, who do you got?
I picked Gabriella Nixon. She has 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points in the span of November. And also 7 goals total in between the Miami and Notre Dame series. So just all-around impressive play. And when she plays well, the team plays well off of that. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, she's very creative with the puck. She's very creative when she gets down into the slot, and she makes plays, and she gets this team going.
And John, for men's D2, who you got for Player of the Month?
So we got Frankie Williamson, 3 goals, 2 assists, 4 or 5 points. You know, Frankie's everywhere on the ice. If he's not creating shots, he's running someone over. He's really picked up the physical aspect. And we joke, with our roster size, I joke with Frankie, he's about 10 minutes off from being a goalie in terms of ice time. It feels like he plays 50 minutes a night. He's always out there, and he's either scoring or he's either making a big pass to set up a goal.
Now, Reagan, we talked about this in your segment. The rest of the semester overlook Adrian, Grand Valley, and Florida Gulf Coast. What is your key takeaway for the 3 games?
Well, not only are they playing the #1 team in the nation, Grand Valley State, to close out the semester, they also play a team that's should be a very winnable series in Adrian coming up this weekend. But that Florida Gulf Coast series is going to be really the trying point for this CMU D3 team because they didn't. Last time they went down to Florida, they did not pick up a win. They lost in a shootout, and they they lost to Florida Gulf Coast the last time they were down there 2 years ago. That's going to be a really tough series ahead of that #1 matchup against Grand Valley State.
Now, Anthony, for the women's D2 team, Lawrence Tech this weekend and then Bowling Green after Thanksgiving. What are your takeaways, especially from Lawrence Tech, who is a very tough team to play? What are your key takeaways or keys to the game for Lawrence Tech?
For the Lawrence Tech series, as I mentioned earlier in the show, it's being able to bounce back off those tough losses against Sioux College. Lawrence Tech, they've got Sophia Buckberger. She has 17 goals and 11 assists so far this season. Just impressive stuff, leading the CCWHA in points with 28. They also have Teresa DiMaggio with 12 goals, 7 assists for 19 points. 2 very electric players. You're really going to want to shut them down at the start of the game and really throughout the entire game as well. You just want to make sure you're shutting them down and you're also playing really well, taking advantage of opportunities and not letting any type of lead slip like we saw in the final games of those Miami and Notre Dame series.
And then, John, like we talked about in the last segment, Eastern Michigan D1 and the #5 Sioux College. Talk about just playing Sioux College again and then also that recruit skate for the men's team.
So, we talked about it. Sioux College, #5 team in the country. Very, very good, very fast. And a lot of their roster are former junior players. Their goalie is an age out from the OHL. And we played him. A very good goalie, very sound, was able to get back in position. I'll tell you what, we talked about it in our segment. It's not going to be an 18-1 loss this time. It's going to be much closer. We're going to have a full roster. And I know that the boys were not happy about how that game ended in terms of, we've played teams this year where they're up by 6 or 7 goals and they're doing things that, hey. So it's going to be, if you want a physical hockey game to watch, come out to Martin Ice Arena on the 9th and 10th, and I think they're going to be very physical games. And I think that the boys are ready, and I think, they could get a win. It's a toss-up right now.
Well, thank you for joining me, and once again, a big thank you to Sam Zavelson, Kylie Delray, and Frankie Williamson for joining us tonight. We'll be back on your screens for a full weekend of hockey starting Friday when the women's team face off against Lawrence Tech. Until then, I'm Ryan Donnelly alongside Reagan Cleaves, John Gervasi, and Anthony Schulte, and you have been watching Inside Chippewa Hockey.